At the same time that more and more Americans across America are getting fired up to engage in this 2020 election, efforts continue to make sure that as few of them can as possible, with voter suppression efforts going on across the country. And joining us now to break down his research into this area, once again joining the Damage Report, Greg Palast, investigative reporter and writer of 4 New York Times bestsellers, including The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. Greg, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be with you, John.
Great to have you here. Look, there's several different topics I want to get into with you, but you have a new video that we want to talk about. This is about the nexus of voter suppression, race, and mass shooting. So let's show it to the audience.
9 people have been killed in a second mass shooting in less than 24 hours. This investigating. It happened in Dayton, Ohio.
My cousin TJ was killed on my B-day. He was 25, I just turned 25. Never thought in my mind he would be the one to die in a massive shooting in the town of mine. He got 4 kids, knee high that cut deep, huh? He can't work in the morning, he can't feed them. He got a wife at home, she can't see him. He got sisters broke, they really need him. On top of that, his kids wanna see him. Bones depict this world is sick. Mental health and entitlement, devil supremacists. It led to this. Together we stand, divided we fall. We should throw hands before we bear arms. For all the victims, I'm crushed by your loss. Even though you're gone, we still holding on. No matter where you go, I'ma keep holding on. Standing in the rain, we gon' get through the storm. Yes, the tide close, it might hit the coast. I'll be by your side, we still holding on. Yeah, yeah, we still holding on. In your brown eyes, I can see hope. Man, the world cold, it's hard to cope. I got your back and we still holding on. Take my hand, who gon' take my hand? And when I take a stand, they gon' kill me where I stand. I walk through the land, step through the fields of sand, following the footsteps, lead me to the promised land. Heal the world, words is not enough. I'm fighting for the ones not standing up, that can't speak up. It's hard enough that they indulge in killing us. No matter where you go, I'ma keep holding on. Standing in the rain, we gon' get through the storm. Yes, the tide close, it might hit the coast. I'll be by your side, we still holding on. Yeah, yeah, we still holding on.
So Greg, tell me about that.
Okay, you had Jevin Lamar on, great hip hop artist there, who's from Dayton. His cousin TJ was massacred as one of the 9 people in the Dayton shooting. And I do want to relate this to voting. It is. He is my assistant producer and front point man down in Dayton and in Ohio. And this song, if you go to JevinLamar.com, you can download it, donate to Daybreak Dayton, by the way, which is a homeless shelter for kids dealing with violence in Dayton. And Jevin himself was at that homeless shelter. The reason we did this, okay, was to support, remind people why you're voting and what you're doing. He's part of a whole campaign to uncover vote suppression in Ohio, working with me, and was assistant producer on our film, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, which is filmed, a lot of it in Dayton. And I'll tell you why, okay? You saw that town, it's destroyed. Okay, it's one of the reasons why people pick up guns. It's an absolutely desperate place. It's lost half of its population. About 50% of the homes are in foreclosure or are simply abandoned. It's a war zone. And what they do, why is that important? The answer is because when people don't have homes, when people have no place to be, they can't vote. And by the way, the GOP, I caught them in Michigan, challenging the right to vote of people if they're living in their homes, if they've been foreclosed because it's supposedly not a legitimate address. The other thing, the state of Ohio just removed 500,000 voters, the GOP state Secretary of State. Now you have to understand, Obama won that state twice. He really did win it in 2016, or excuse me, the Democrats won it in 16. But there was mass erasure of black voters from the voter rolls in Ohio. And we uncovered some of these tricks in the film. We uncovered something that they used in Ohio called interstate cross-check. If you remember Chris Kobach of Kansas, if you can't remember Chris Kobach of Kansas, always think KKK. He's the guy who came up with this system of saying people are voting twice. He targeted over 500,000 people in the state of Ohio, saying that they were registered or voting twice. By the way, there is no such instances, and yet they removed 500,000 people from the voter rolls. Now understand, in Ohio, they use something called purge by postcard. So they send out they don't just remove everyone on Chris Kobach's racist hit list. They send you postcards. Or if in Ohio you skip a couple votes, then you also get a postcard. If you don't answer the postcard, you lose your vote. We call it purge by postcard on the grounds that supposedly not answering that postcard means you've left the state. No, they haven't left the state. They've been pushed out of the economy. Now, for Stacey Abrams' organization, Fair Fight, my investigative team actually went through the names that were purged in that state, in Georgia. We literally went through all the names of people purged by postcard to see if they'd actually left the state, as Chris Kobach, and in Georgia, a guy named Brian Kemp, the governor who beat Stacey Abrams supposedly. And we found that 340,134 people, exactly, we have their names and addresses, did not, never left their voting address. And they removed them from the voter rolls anyway for having moved. This is the game they're playing in the swing states. Georgia is a swing state. It is the first Deep South minority majority state. Stacey Abrams, as she says, won that race. She just wasn't inaugurated governor. After she read our reports at and which you can read, by the way, at gregpalast.com from the Palast Investigative Fund. Now, we're not just working in Georgia, where we're working with Stacey Abrams. We are also working in Ohio. We're suing the state of Ohio to get all the names and addresses of people they've purged by this postcard method. And by the way, sending out postcards is itself, you may not realize this is kind of a racist little trick, because they know that postcards sent to people in urban areas and renters and students who move about, they don't get returned the way you do from the suburbs. In fact, the Census Bureau has said that if you're black, if you're urban, if you're young, if you're a renter, you're 600% less likely to return a government postcard as a white suburban homeowner. Wow. So they know if they use the postcard trick, they knock off people who, by definition, like renters, move. You don't lose your vote because you moved. You don't lose your vote because you've been foreclosed. People in Dayton are always doubling up and tripling up because they're losing their houses. They know who they're removing, and that's the trickery that's being played. That's one of the reasons I have that we filmed about the massacre, but this will seg into the filming about voting in Dayton, or the attempt to take away the vote of people in Dayton.
Yeah, really exciting, by the way, that you've been working with Stacey Abrams, because she obviously has experienced firsthand the electoral implications of this sort of voter suppression, and what you've described in a number of different ways, very scary. And so we're really thankful to have both investigative reporters like yourself and also people like Stacey Abrams working on this. Everybody watching this should definitely look into Greg's website, learn more about his recent investigations. Greg, as always, we love having you on. Thank you.
Thanks, John. See you then.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.